friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the leap year book tag. I was tagged by Krista from Books and Jams, and when I watched her video it just seemed really fun, and I thought since we only have a few days left in the month, I better get this done. So without further ado, let's get into the questions, and then I will tag some other people who can hopefully do this in the next few days. I have my trusty bullet journal here with the questions inside. So if you see me looking down, this is what I'm looking at. Question number 1, an extra day. What is one book that brought a little something extra? And for that one, I decided to go with a book that I just read, and that is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. And I read this for the Historathon just a few days ago, and stupidly took it back to the library before I did this tag. So you're probably just going to get a little picture of it up here. But anyway, this book is a historical fiction novel set in the 1950s, 60s era in Spain, during the reign of, or the dictatorship of Francisco Franco. And I really knew nothing about this time period, or I knew who Francisco Franco was, but I didn't really know anything about him or what he did to Spain. So just reading about the atrocities that happened in Spain during that time period, and how no one in the outside world knew how bad it was, and then just the ending to this and how I felt after I was done reading this, just that was extra for me. I don't tend to cry at books, and I cried the whole way through the ending to this book. So to me, that is bringing something extra to the party. If you can make me cry in a book, then you've done something. Because I can be a cold-hearted snake when it comes to books. Question 2, taking a big leap. What is one book that you were afraid to read? And if you've been following me for any length of time, this year at least, you will know that that is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I just finished this yesterday, and it has been a 2-month journey to finally complete this chunker of a book. I actually listened to it on audiobook, and kind of followed along in this book, although it was a different translation, so it wasn't exactly the same, but it was pretty close. But I have always been afraid to read this for multiple reasons. Number 1, its size. Number 2, just the fact that it's a translated work. Number 3, that war is in the title, and that is not my favorite thing in the world to read about. So many reasons why I was afraid to read this book. But I was pleasantly surprised at how accessible it was. There were some pretty heady parts. There were a lot of things that went over my head, but the overall storyline was very enjoyable, and I am proud of myself for reading it and pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Question 3, every 4 years, what is the 4th book you read this year? And when I was looking up my Goodreads page to tell me what the 4th book I read this year was, it was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. And I have a very unpopular opinion that I did not get on with this book very well. There was just too much hockey talk in it for me. The main action of the story I didn't feel like started soon enough, and it was just a lot of character building and not enough plot for me. So this book was one that I probably should have known that I wasn't going to enjoy, but I read it because of the hype train, and I kind of wish I hadn't. Question 4, 366 days in the year. Looking at your third shelf, name the sixth book and then the sixth book after that. So you can see up here that there is a shelf up here. It is not filled with books. It has knickknacks on it. So this is my second shelf, and this is my third shelf. So let's go with that one. And they're all books that I've already read, but yeah, at least I can talk about them. So let's pick some books, shall we? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the first book, or the sixth book on my shelf, is Peony in Love by Lisa C. And I've already read this, but I am going to be rereading this at some point this year. Can't remember, but I'm rereading it with Krista from what I recall. I don't remember when we decided we were going to do this, but at some point we're going to reread this. So yeah, I really enjoyed Snowflower and the Secret Fan by the same author. It's like the companion to this, and I remember enjoying this too, but I really don't remember much about it other than both of these books have very gruesome accounts of Chinese foot binding. I may have to skip those parts because that's another one that gets a reaction out of me, and it's not a reaction that I want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the sixth book after the sixth book. And this one I actually got from my friend Angie over at Literary Labors. Whenever I won a giveaway for a bunch of her Babysitters Club books that she had, she threw this one in as like a little added bonus. And it is the graphic novel edition of the first Babysitters Club book. And I've read this in a library copy, but it was really sweet of her to give me the like a brand new edition of this one, and I am really excited to reread this and look back on all the fun little memories. Question 5. Leaping ahead, name 4 books that you want to read by the next leap year, which would be 4 years from now. So I sure do hope that I get to these books within the next 4 years. So I wrote them down, so I'm going to be looking down, I'm sorry. But the first is Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Murray, I believe is her name. I've heard many, many good things about this book and this author from Krista and Katie from Life Between Words, and I believe, just a bunch of bookstagrammers that I follow. Everybody just seems to love this book. So I'm really excited to get to it, but for some reason I just have not picked it up yet, and I need to. And then also The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, I believe. Kristen Hanna? Yes. And this one is another one that when I first kind of started watching BookTube, it was kind of the BookTube darling at that point. And again, Katie from Life Between Words and Molly from Molly Reads, and just all the original booktubers that I had been watching raved about this book. So I still haven't read it, and I need to. And apparently it's set in Alaska. And even though things set in Alaska are usually really harsh and gruesome, I seem to be drawn to books set in Alaska. I don't know why. But I'm looking forward to reading it, hopefully at some point. I believe it is on my 20 books in 2020 to read, so I will probably be getting to it this year. Also, another one is Dombey and Son, I always get that wrong, by Charles Dickens. And this is another one that I plan on reading this year, so I will definitely have it read by the next leap year. And yeah, everybody that has read this book raves about it. I am a big classics reader, and I love Victorian literature, and I have a goal to read way more Charles Dickens than I have so far. So yeah, I am excited to get to this one, and that will be in 2020 as well. And the last one is more of a series. I would like to read a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. And that one, obviously, because it is a large series, even though it's probably middle grade, young adult range, probably going to take me a while. So it may take me till the next leap year. Question 6 is Leapfrog. Name a book on your TBR that has green on the cover. And for that one, I picked I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. And I will be buddy reading this with Angie from Literary Labors and a couple other girls, I believe, at some point this year. I have to look at my schedule, but we are going to be buddy reading this. So it is definitely on my immediate TBR, and I really know nothing about this. Originally, I thought it was a Victorian novel. I was told I was very wrong. Question 7 is Bad Luck. What bookish things do you steer clear of? And for this, I am probably going to copycat from Krista and say I steer clear of gore, hence why I do not like the Chinese foot binding scenes because they are gross. And I steer clear of gore, definitely. I steer clear of really explicit sex scenes. I tend to skip them if they are a big part of a romance novel. I prefer it to be closed door or like almost closed doors, like you might know that something's gonna happen, but then we skip to after the fact. Like I'm okay with that, but I also don't like to hear a lot of political talk. I don't like to talk about politics in my normal life. I don't like to watch anything about politics, and I don't like to read about it either. So those are the three big no-nos. If you're gonna recommend a book to me, probably don't recommend anything with those three things involved, or at least heavily involved, because if I have to skip it, I will, but if I'm skipping half of the book, then it's just silly. Okay, and finally, the last question is just to tag 4 people. And for this, I am going to tag my War and Peace buddy read partner, Tara from Buzzword Books, my friend Angie, that I've talked about from Literary Labors, and Berna from Berna's, oh, I gotta look at her, Berna's Bookish Adventures. And also, I am going to tag Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading. So those are my 4 friends that I would like to see do this tag. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. That was fun. I haven't done a tag in a while, and I realize I probably have some that I've been tagged in that I have forgotten about. So I will have to get to that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tag, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.